Chasing Pelagics. I'm Jeff, and this is your SoCal fishing forecast for Thursday, June 15th. Uh, Putting together a really quick video tonight, guys. I am trying to get my stuff done so I can get on a plane tomorrow first thing, so bear with me, but we're going to whip through this thing as quickly as possible. Weather, yeah, June gloom hasn't stopped. Expect drizzle, the usual stuff. Groundhog Day on repeat. And our wind model here is actually looking really good. Again, next several days, same old thing. June gloom, light drizzle, a little bit of California eddy, and yeah, until Monday. Then you might see some gusting, but Monday's a little bit far away for now, so we'll see what happens. But it could just turn into this normal eddy that we've kind of already been seeing, so not that big a deal. But we'll see where it goes. The charts look like crap. Shocking. We've had June gloom here continuously and not really seen any good pictures. But 8-day, you can tell that a lot of this water is really cleaned up. We got a lot of blue water here, which is really good for pelagics. So I like that. Temperature wise, kind of the same thing. 3-day, 64 is the orange that we're seeing here. So let's see what we got on the 8-day. More or less same thing. But let's do the fishing rundown. Went out last weekend, 2-day trip, and we checked a lot of places. And I guess let's talk the rest of the Channel Islands first. Channel Islands still like status quo sea bass, around a couple yellows as well. Overall bite isn't like 10 out of 10 or anything like that. Still good quality models coming out of there, just not the numbers that we saw back in like May. But overall, still really good fishing. Stick with the squid, dead or alive, doesn't really matter. They tend to eat it anyway. Or if you don't, fluke on a loop or casting flukes works just fine too. San Nick, there has been a good little run of yellowtail here and occasional sea bass. No one's really been fishing here the last few days because the bluefin have showed up. And that pretty much goes the same story at Santa Barbara Island. No one's really looked at it, as far as I know, in a week or so. If you have, drop us a report. We'll share what info is going on, or maybe you don't want to drop a report if the sea bass fishing is really good. We'll see what happens. Catalina, west end between Cat Harbor and the west side, has been on and off for yellows and white sea bass. And I'll tell you, just the yellowtail fishing this year is so frustrating. It's so inconsistent. You can't get a bite going for more than a day in a row. You can see nothing one day, and then the next day someone hooks 50, and then the next day it's a ghost town. So it's just one of those years, man. Like, you really like the island fishing, and especially in springtime, and it just has not been consistent. So it's really hard when you focus on this stuff, expecting a good bite, especially when a couple guys got the day before, or maybe 2 days in a row, and then the next day it's like, where you even fishing the same island? So moving down south, the Coronados have cleaned up a little bit. There's been a little bit of scattered yellows on the weather side of the islands. Check the ribbon kelp as well. But yeah, at least signs are showing a little bit better than what they have been the last 2 months. So if you want to stay close and don't want to do the offshore thing, that is an option. San Clemente Island. I ended up fishing here on Sunday morning. We fished Pyramid Cove, and like what I mentioned, Jeff Markland on the Thunderbird was here the day before. We got like 50, something like that. We fished it for nothing. Zero goose eggs. However, same day Jeff did get some in there as well. I don't remember how many, but there was like 4 or 5 other sport boats around too, and none of them were bendo. So like I said, there's fish around, just not a huge volume. So if you're gonna come this far, just be prepared. It's wreckers or checkers. We'll find out what happens here. But for us, it was a complete strikeout. We did not get a chance to fish the rest of the island or even look at it. It was a quick trip for it was potentially going to be a morning bite, and that never worked for us. So the cover of my trip, we started off on 2-day We went to Cortez. We fished the high spot. There's been some good home guard yellows around, but the trick is you gotta be there before sunrise. There was a ton of bait in the water, and it was puddling up all around. And when that happens, you can't fly line baits. So it's just why is the fish going to choose your single bait over a pile of baits? It's not going to happen. So we went fishing the yo-yo. We got there a little late. We didn't get there till like 8:30. So I assume that some of those yos got some bait in their bellies before we got there. But we went with five, all on the yo-yo. 20, 25 pound fish, good size, nothing crazy. Ryan got one on a triple trout swim bait. It was sick. Dropper loop didn't work. Nothing with a bait. Didn't want squid. It's got to be iron or nothing. We did not look at Tanner, but I would assume it's pretty much the same story. From there, we were gonna Sunday morning. Sunday morning. Sorry, the days are blending together here. Saturday morning, we were still at the bank. We were deciding to come back to Pyramid to try and fish it first light and have a good anchorage. But we got to about the 381. We heard that the bite for the bluefin up here by the 499. And let me switch this back to bottom detail here because this is going to help you a lot more. But we have this escarpment here that rips up to the 499 out to the 711. And just like last year, we had bluefin piled up on both sides. A lot of people traveling from this side were all stacked on this edge. And then if you came across another 10 miles, there's not a single boat on this side last year. It was hilarious. It's just piles and piles of fish and no one around. So if you're a private boater and there's fish in this area, make sure you check both sides of this escarpment here because there's usually fish in both sides. But anyways, we came for the night bite. We got here at 11. First fish on the meter, instant hookup, and one drift from 11 to 2:30, something like that. We ended up with 34. The smallest was a 40, which was my very first fish of the night, and the biggest was a 230, 228. We actually taped that one. Personally, I went 5 for 8. Pulled the hook on 2. One was tail wrapped and got weird, and then the first one was never hooked right. I could just tell just the way the head jigs were. He was never hooked right from the get go, and then I got sawed off on one tangle. It was windy. Fished. First setup was the new Fathom 80. Love the reel. I'm not going to downplay it. I know there were some issues with some of the early ones that were out there with the drags, maybe on the 60s and maybe the 30s of the new Fathom 2. But I bought an 80 and spooled it with the Izorline color changing line, 130 size every 100 feet on a Phoenix 2X access rod. Great setup, loved it. I caught 2 fish with it, and then that's when I got sawed off. And then I went back to Old Faithful, previous 60 Fathom, the black edition, and fished that. And I can tell you, going back and forth between the two reels, I significantly like the new one better. Obviously, the handle's nice because your hands don't slip off, especially if you're cranking really hard. And then also, the low gear is a game changer. It's significantly lower than the old one, and it makes a difference. And it really does. You could grind those things up so fast. And then the other difference I noticed was the free spool on the new one. If you fish heavy drag like I do, on the old Fathom, the free spool seemed like it wasn't as free as you would want it, especially for dropping jigs. Although, it did, drop nicely, but, it was like comparing a Honda Civic to a Ferrari on the speed of the new Fathom. So, my old reeler probably needs a little bit of grease in there too, but overall, really happy with the 80. I bought another one, and I'll probably be letting go of some of my older Fathoms here. After next trip, I got a buddy coming out, so Need some extra gear for him. But yeah, really impressed with it. Yeah, I ended up going. Yeah, I said 5 or 8, and then first one was fork 40, and then an 80, and then the next two were like 100 each. Uh, the second one was mean. I didn't fight like any of the other ones. I had him on the bow, like on the surface 5 times, and every time the gaff came over the rail, he was like, "See ya!" Total bulldog. Yeah, that was a good fight. 160, it felt like one of the other 100 pounders. Not much difference, but yeah, really fun fishing. You could tell the guys are gassed. We're pounding waters while dropping jigs. Here's your sign that the bite was good. I think we were all exhausted. That's the first time my arms are actually sore after a day of fishing in a long time. But yeah, just lights out fishing, super fun. They would have literally bit anything that you threw at them. They bit the 250 gram West Coast Jiggers KB. They bit 400 gram. It was pretty windy. It was raining sideways. The 400 gram, I even like had to toss down swell and then walk it back up the stern and keep it vertical. And then right about then, it still hit about the 300 mark, and that's where we're getting most of the bites. You get like a 1/2 rip up on it before dropping it down again before you're pretty sideways and have to start all over again. But overall, yeah, it was cold, it was wet. The boys put the work in, and we did pretty good for one stop. We probably could have done more, but we did a lot of cod fishing. They killed some time out there. So, yeah, the fish holes are pretty full. And honestly, I mean, 5 fish I I do all my own fish, so I process all my own fish, and I spent the last 2 days doing that after work. So gave a bunch away that I couldn't fit in my freezer. So my guy friends are eating good, but yeah, we had more than enough to go around for sure. So great fishing, but yeah, that fish is still there, and it's not just a night bite, guys. The night bite is kind of slow the last day or two, but private boat guys are hitting this daytime. They're getting on the flyers, no problem. They're getting on Mad Max. They're getting on spreader bars. If you haven't seen the Mag Dogs from Mag Bay Lures, they're just like a Mad Mag, but no moving parts. They're a little beefier. The treble hooks are way meaner. You don't have to switch out the hooks. These things are ready to go. I definitely would try one of those if that's what you want to do for that style of fishing. But the kite still works if you know how to fish them. Works pretty well. The last day or two, we've seen a little bit more fish hang out on the edge of the island. We didn't see this when we came through here, but this really moved in like the last couple days, and it's the same size fish. We really have good fishing. Like I said, both sides of this escarpment. Again, mackerel bank, still see a couple fish there as well, and you start seeing some more kelp patties in this area as stuff starts blowing through here. Earlier, there was some fish stacked up along the east end here on the ridge, but I think these fish have just moved on and it's kind of settled back in, like I was saying, back into the 499, like this whole area on this escarpment. So you might see some pop up in here, maybe on the right slack side in the afternoon, but most of these fish are not going to be settled in. Doesn't seem like they're really starting to settle in up here like how they did last year. So let's see what happens. We'll give it another week. But that's basically 2 weeks of them kind of hang out in this zone here, so that's pretty good. Moving further south, not seeing a whole lot of stuff along the 181, 182, just not seeing it. There's another good pile of fish down here between the 371, 226, 425. Like I said, this thing always is just fishy as hell. And looks like the San Diego's been catching a lot more schoolie sized fish in this area. But I'm sure there's some bigger ones around as well. Just maybe they're not seeing them up on top, or some guys aren't ready for them. But down below, we're still seeing a good rundown here. Ensenada, these guys at Mara's. I mean, if you guys want to follow their Instagram, they post fish every day. Someone is hanging a fish, and all they're doing is trolling Mad Max. They're not doing no kite, no nothing. They're just trolling Mad Max, 12, 14 knots. Battle of the Pongas, I think, is this weekend too. We sponsored that. That's going on. Check out those guys. If they have a spot left, I don't know. Like I said, I'm stepping on a plane here in less than 12 hours and got a lot of stuff to do. So, but yeah, that's it, guys. There's still fish down here below. We'll just see what happens with it. Again, we got to get these water temps to creep up a little bit in this June gloom to die off. But as soon as it does, these water temps are going to jump from 65 to 72 in like I'd say less than 2 weeks. It's ready. It's ready to go. Yeah, good current. This is what we're looking for. So that's it for this week, guys. We'll post up a video of that trip. We got a bunch of sick footage, but I just, like I said, I don't have time right now. So hopefully next week, into next week, I think we can make that happen. But yeah, we're working with some Final Cut Pro, doing a lot more professional video editing than just slamming through the cheap stuff that I usually do this video with. So it takes a little bit more time, and yeah, but that's it. All right, guys, be safe. If you need tackle, we still have stuff in the store. I'm going to have more shipments next week of West Coast jiggers, hopefully. And yeah, that's it. If you order something between now and Sunday, it's not going to ship till Monday night. So just a heads up. All right, guys. Cheers. Take care. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out our website and online store at chasingprojects.com. And make sure you share the stoke.